Hi everybody, it's Miss Veronica. And this week in art, we are going to talk about something a little bit different. We are going to be talking about sculpture. And we're going to talk about sculpture, some history with sculpture, and then we're going to create our own. All right, so I'm going to start off just by talking a little bit about sculpture in general. Sculpture can be statues. We can also create any kind of three-dimensional object. So it could be, the way Mr. Joe makes the pottery. There's some big statues like the Statue of Liberty, which is a nice example of sculpture. And then there's also super ancient sculptures as well that I want to talk to you about also. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty, you guys are probably familiar with the image, and I'm going to go ahead and just show us here just for fun. I got it pulled up on my computer. Okay, so here we have our Statue of Liberty, and you can see the image, and some of you guys probably already know, but just in case you don't, or if you need a reminder, the Statue of Liberty was given to the United States from France, from the country of France, and it actually sits on an American pedestal. So the statue was made in France, and then it was given to the United States as a gift, and then it sits on top of a pedestal that was created by the United States, by the Americans. So it's a cool collaboration between the two countries, and it's a universal symbol of freedom and democracy, and it's a really interesting way to show that connection, all right, that the unity between the two countries. And it's been in 1886, it was given to the United States as a celebration of the Declaration of Independence 100 years later. And so it's a really, really powerful symbol, a powerful image. And it's a sculpture, it's a piece of artwork. And so I wanted to bring that up to you guys because artwork can be super, super important as a symbol for different countries. There's another statue or series of statues that I want to talk to you about. It's called the Terracotta Army. And I'm going to pull that up here as well and just show you on my computer. All right. So if you can see here, the Terracotta Army is a whole bunch of little sculptures, and these are actually soldiers. So there was a Chinese emperor, and this was a couple thousand years ago, all right? And there was a Chinese emperor that when he died, he wanted to have protection. And so the people created 8,000 sculptures of these soldiers that would be with him, kind of like in his tomb. And so it's a pretty crazy idea. He had all of these sculptures there to protect him so that he felt comfortable going into the afterlife. So this was a Chinese emperor, and this was 210 BC. So we are 2000 AD, which means that this was over 2,000 years ago that this was created, and it still stands. The sculptures endured over all this time. So that's another reason that sculpture is really important. It's one of our most ancient artworks, and more so than maybe a painting or something that would be on some kind of a tablet or something like that. The sculptures really endure, so they give us a cool window into history. All right, so the Terracotta Army was the second sculpture that I wanted to talk to you about. And then there's another one that I was curious if you guys might be familiar with, and I'm going to pull it up right here. All right, this one right here. And this one is called The Thinker. And it was actually originally called The Poet, but it became known as The Thinker. And there are multiple different casts of this same image. A lot of times a sculptor will work with other sculptors or with other artists that will help him to execute the sculpture. So this one, there are multiple casts, so there are multiple versions of this same image. So there's lots of different places that you can see it, as opposed to just one original piece. And it's a really recognizable image, which is why I wanted to bring it up. It's just something that a lot of people are familiar with this sculpture, which also makes it powerful. Because if we're all familiar with one image, no matter what language we speak, no matter where we live, no matter what our interests are, we're all familiar with something. And so it's kind of a bond that we have just across different cultures when there's that one kind of recognizable image. All right, so I wanted to talk to you about a couple different sculptures, and explain the importance of their role in history. And then we are also going to talk about creating our own. So what I would like for us to do, I'd like for you to think of what you might like to create with a sculpture, and I'd like for you to sketch it. Just sketch it out. And it could be something so simple. Sculpture can be tough to take on. You know, if you want to do a huge unicorn with the knight on top and all these things, sometimes that gets to be a little much to take on. So we have to plan a little bit what we can do with our sculpture. So, and I would like for you to create a sketch of it, of what you would like to create. It could be something meaningful to you. Maybe you're thinking of it as a symbol of something. Maybe it's a heart that's a symbol of your love, or maybe it's something for Christmas that you think would be a nice image for Christmas time, a candy cane, something like that. So just something that pops in your head that you would be excited about. And I want you to see if you can sketch it out. And I want you to consider if that would be something that would be simple enough that we could take it on with a ball of clay. Okay, and this could be something also we're going to actually work towards creating a sculpture that we can actually let dry and keep it so that it be something that stays permanent. All right, but we're going to play with it a little bit beforehand just by sketching it and maybe trying to shape it out of some Play-Doh that you have at home. Maybe you have a little bit of clay or something moldable like that you have at home. Play-Doh's fine. Play-Doh works great to be able to mold something. And if you don't have that, let me know and I can drop some off to you. We'll coordinate that. Okay, but I would like for you to create a sketch, and then I'd like for you to see if it's doable when you actually start to mold it. Sometimes I have an idea and then I sketch it out and I'm super excited about it. And then when I start to mold it, I go, maybe this was a little too much to take on, right? So I want you to think about that while you're creating your idea. And it could be any of the things that we talked about. It could be a symbol. Remember, the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of freedom and democracy. You could have a symbol of something, maybe a symbol of the season or a symbol of how you're feeling, or just something that you'd like to create that acts as a symbol. It could also be just something that you just think would be interesting, that you would like the image of it. There's something that you really enjoy, okay? So I want you to just think about what your image is going to be. And if you find that while you're going through the process of sketching it out or creating an actual little practice sculpture with it, if you find that it doesn't work, be open to that. Because like I said, lots of times I set out to do something, and then when I start to create it, I think, oh man, this isn't really something that I can execute right now. And so I'm going to take it a different direction. Sometimes I start creating something or sketching something, and my mind starts going a different direction. And you can do that too, okay? So don't feel like you're locked into what your original idea is. I want you to take your time to kind of let it process, and it's different for everybody. Some of us work really methodically, and we create a sketch, and then that's what we do, and that's what we create, start to finish each time. We tend to go in that straight line. But some of us tend to deviate a little bit, and our minds work differently. Even visually, as we're sketching, we just tend to start going in a different direction, and that's okay too. So just be open to what your process is specifically to you, and then start to let that process play out. And I'd love for you to send me images or ideas or anything you're working on. I'm also happy to check in with you guys on Wednesday if you want to show me anything or if you want to talk to me about anything. And then when we are ready to work on the finished clay, I'm going to get in touch with you guys probably next week. That will happen. Maybe over the weekend I can make some drops too, because I can give you a little Ziploc with the clay that actually hardens, and you can take your idea and you can transfer it over into that air dry clay that will actually harden for you. All right, and the last thing I want to touch on this is think about when you are creating, when you start to actually mold something with Play-Doh or you start to mold something with clay, I'd like for you to think about how you can use your clay to create your shape. So maybe, let's say you are making a snowman and you have the small ball on the top, medium, and large. Probably your first step would be to piece the clay off into different portions, right? So you'd break it up into a small portion, medium portion, and a larger portion. Maybe you save a little bit for extra pieces that you want to add, the nose, maybe some buttons, maybe the arms or a hat that you want to create. So start to think about that plan as well, how you can use your clay, maybe section it off. If it feels like it's tough, depending on what you're using, It can be something maybe that you have to kind of mush it around a little bit in your hands. So let all of that develop as well, because that's part of it too, just learning to kind of mold the clay, move it around, and work with it. All right, and that could be Play-Doh too, whatever you're using to practice with. All right, and like I said, if you don't have Play-Doh at home, or you don't have anything like that, clay or Play-Doh, anything like that that's moldable, then let me know. Send me an email, have your parents send me an email or a parent square, and I will coordinate with them to drop some off. I can give them a little ball of clay or some Play-Doh for you guys to use, okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions. I'm excited to work with you guys in this different format, because we've done a lot of kind of drawing stuff, and now we get to work 3D, which for some of us is super fun. For some of us it's challenging, and we get to play with something different. All right, thank you. I will talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day.